I nearly tossed the envelope into the recycling bin without a second thought. It looked too elegant, too formal. Velvet-lined cream cardstock with gilded lettering that spelled out the Dupree residence in looping script. My first impulse was annoyance, another solicitation from some luxury brand I had no interest in. But the return address stopped my thumb halfway to the bin. The Devo household. Old Oaks Estate, Briarwood Lane, Raina's parents, my in-laws. I slipped a finger under the flap and peeled it open. Inside lay a single card. At the top, in the same gilded script, was the Devo family crest, a pair of entwined peacocks beneath a crown. Below it, the words stung. You are cordially invited to celebrate the 30th birthday of Camille Devo at the Dupree residence. No RSVP, no date or time. Just the assumption that I, the homeowner, was already part of the guest list. I stared at it, counting the ways it was wrong. The venue, the house I built, brick by brick, over 8 relentless years. The host's name, not mine. My own name, the one on the deed, was nowhere to be found. My chest tightened. 8 years ago, when Raina and I first toured this ramshackle Victorian, with its sagging porch and chipped shutters, my heart had beat in my throat. I saw blank canvases, where others saw flaws. I imagined late-night sanding oak floors, painting trim by moonlight, turning dead lawns into a tapestry of native grasses. When we signed the papers, I did it with trembling hands. I shouldered every renovation cost myself, 2 promotions, a small inheritance, and every overtime dollar at my landscaping firm. My sweat was in the mortar, my vision in every arch of the pergola, and somehow, none of that mattered to the Devo family. To them, it was always a Devo property. A trophy, ready for their next grand event. I found Raina in the kitchen, unpacking groceries from Trader Joe's. She didn't look up when I dropped the invitation on the counter. You got something from your parents? I said. She glanced at it, eyebrows lifting a fraction. Oh, that! They're using the house for Camille's party. Her tone was airy, matter of fact, as if I'd handed her an old cereal box. They didn't think to invite you by name? I asked, voice low. She folded her arms. You're my husband. It's assumed. I felt my jaw tighten. Assumed, I repeated. They don't assume I exist. Memories tumbled forward. The first Thanksgiving when Celeste told me to fetch more rolls, then refused to look me in the eye. The evening I presented her with a handcrafted dining table, only to have her ask, Is this up to Devo standards? The silent judgment. The constant need to prove I belonged. Yet nothing had ever cut as deep as this omission. This blank space on a gilded card that spelled out my absence. That night, I wandered the halls alone. Upstairs, the master bedroom, walked straight into my memory. The piece-by-piece assembly of the walk-in closet. The late-night debates over paint swatches. The triumph when Raina cried at how beautiful it looked. Downstairs, the living room windows framed the garden I designed, a winding path of limestone, Japanese maples, beds of lavender and salvia, each plant chosen for its resilience, each stone laid with intention, and all of it, to Celeste and Wallace, was just scenery for Camille's grand entrance. I opened my laptop and pulled up the deed. There it was, Christopher Dree, sole owner. No fine print about family use, no Devo occupancy clause. My ownership was absolute, yet, in a single piece of cardstock, they had rewritten history. My hand shook as I printed the deed, highlighted my name, and placed it beside the invitation. It felt absurd to let a card dictate my self-worth. I had poured my heart into this house. Built everything from nothing. The insult wasn't their use of the house. It was their erasure of me. Sleep came fitfully. I dreamed of peacocks strutting through empty halls, their jeweled feathers brushing against my skin as they ignored my presence. I woke at dawn, body tense with resolve. I gathered the invitation, the deed, and the letterhead from my landscape firm, and sat at the kitchen table. Raina peeked in, coffee mug in hand. "You're up early?" she murmured. I didn't respond. Instead, I drafted an email to Celeste and Wallace. Subject: ownership of 4111, West Thornhill. Dear Celeste and Wallace, I noticed the invitation to Camille's birthday gala lists the Dupree residence as the venue without naming the homeowner. Please find attached documentation showing my legal ownership of the property. While you are, of course, welcome to host your daughter's celebration here, I would appreciate being acknowledged as the host and homeowner on all pertinent materials. Sincerely, Christopher Dry Eye paused, fingers hovering above the send button. This wasn't just about titles on an invitation. It was about respect, about seeing the effort behind the walls and the hands that built them, about insisting that, for once, I wouldn't sit silently while my identity was erased. Raina hovered at the doorway, face unreadable. "Is this necessary?" she asked. I clicked send. "Yes," I said quietly. "It's necessary." The email whooshed out into cyberspace, and with it, the first crack in the facade of assumed silence I'd lived under. As the sun rose over the garden path I'd carved through the weeds, I felt the stirrings of something long buried, the certainty that a home built with one's own hands deserves recognition. And this time, I would claim it. "They're professionals," Harlan said, tapping his pen. "They don't need hand-holding. If it fits, we move." It felt surreal how simple he made it sound, but I didn't let the calm lull me into sentimentality. I had made my decision. The house wasn't mine anymore, not in spirit. I'd watched it become a stage for people who treated me like a lighting technician, essential, invisible, replaceable. The moment Camille's name hit the guest list and not mine, something inside me snapped, not out of rage, but clarity. I wasn't staying for the fight. I was preparing for my exit. By the end of the meeting, we'd signed preliminary agreements. Heron moved with precision. Each form, another thread snipped from my attachment. When I returned home, the house looked different. Maybe it was the sunlight, or maybe it was that now I saw it for what it really was. Not a monument to my pride, but a shelf filled with expectations that no longer belonged to me. I opened the garage and started boxing things. Not in a rush, not frantically, just steadily, like a man finally admitting the war was over. And he'd lost the part of himself that once cared to win it. That evening, Rhea walked in while I was folding my suits into a portable garment.